The classic film 2001 A Space Odyssey really did not do too well at the box office when it was first released, but then one theater owner noticed an uptick in ticket sales because young people were getting high, bringing their friends, and watching the film while they were stoned. And that got me to thinking, what films are good to watch while you're high? And that brings us to today's episode. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, I look at 6 films that you may enjoy watching while you're high or inebriated or buzzed, whatever word you want to use. Of course, I would never do that myself. Let's check it out. First of all, let's define our terms. When I say high or buzzed, I'm referring to the legal drug of your choice, whether it's alcohol, marijuana / vaping / edibles, THC content, which is legal in about half the United States, shrooms, toad licking, ayahuasca, even though that involves a ceremony, of course, whatever your jam is. I tried to make some less obvious choices of films, and I'm also going to tell you where you can see these films. So going chronologically, we're going to start with Alice in Wonderland from 1933. This is a live-action version of the Lewis Carroll classic about a young girl who dreams she's entered a fantasy land. Now the costumes, the facial makeup effects, and the sets are truly bizarre and truly freaky. The art director was William Cameron Menzies, who worked on The Thief of Baghdad and the special effects for Gone with the Wind. The cast includes a very young Gary Cooper, a very young Cary Grant as the Mock Turtle, and W.C. Fields as Humpty Dumpty. And this is live action, like I said, so it's very odd. They have like giant heads with sort of slits for mouths, kind of like mini versions of Jabba the Hutt. Maybe you can tell from that picture there on the back. And I would suggest checking out the trailer. If I was more tech savvy, I would attach the trailer here, or you can watch it while I'm talking, but I don't know how to do that. So, Alice in Wonderland, my first pick. Where can you see this one? Well, this is a Kino disc. You can also rent or buy it. My second pick for what to watch while you're high or buzz is Abbott and Costello in Jack and the Beanstalk from 1952. Like Alice in Wonderland, this is another weird story. Lou falls asleep while he's reading this classic story to this kid, and then he dreams he's Jack, who trades his family cow for some magic beans, and Bud plays the cowardly Mr. Dinklepuss. This is the first feature film in color from Abbott and Costello. The opening and closing sequences are sepia tone, similar to The Wizard of Oz. It's really a kid's movie with some pretty lame songs and some musical numbers, but it's got some weird stuff thrown in there besides the plot itself, like this harp that has a face on it that talks while you're playing it. It's very odd. And then Lou's cow, for some reason, is all dressed up and has lipstick on. It's just all very weird. And the actor Buddy Bear plays the giant. He was 6'7". He was also in Giant from the Unknown, which I did an episode on if you want to check that out, like a low-budget monster film. But this is a nostalgic choice for me, actually. But just weird, slapsticky, with Bud and Lou doing their thing. And then this giant walking around, just weird sets and everything. So where can you see Jack and the Beanstalk? This is a Classic Flicks disc. Some very cool extras on this one if you're interested. And you can rent or buy it. It's also streaming right now on Hulu, HBO, and Tubi. My third pick is Fantastic Planet from 1973. This is probably the most obvious choice for this topic of this episode. It's a French animated film set on a planet where enslaved humans are the playthings of these giant blue native inhabitants. And then there's a rebellion later on, of course. I chose this because the animation is very eerie, very surreal, with unique creatures, unique landscapes, and then along with it is the musical soundtrack, which is sort of like this psychedelic tinged rock and jazz at the same time. So very odd film, very colorful, and just off kilter, really. Where can you see Fantastic Planet? Well, this is a Criterion disc. You can rent or buy it, and it's also on Hulu and HBO, and also streaming on the Criterion channel. My fourth pick for what to watch when you're high or buzzed is Blue Velvet from 1986. At first I thought, I could put almost anything directed by David Lynch in this episode. Eraserhead would be the most obvious choice, of course, because it's completely surreal, beginning to end. But I wanted to go with less obvious choices, so I went with Blue Velvet. I think it's the best representation of David Lynch's themes and obsessions throughout most of his career, and it's also one of my favorite films. And this is about the discovery of a severed ear in a field that leads a young man on an investigation that involves a mysterious nightclub singer and a psychotic kidnapper. It's filled with surreal images and set pieces and transitions, motifs that repeat themselves, of course. And there's a classic performance that's unforgettable by Dennis Hopper, a moody soundtrack, a weird, almost kind of corny dialogue in spots, and just dreamlike for a lot of this film. And includes Lynch's usual themes of strange happenings happening in a quote-unquote normal setting. So where can you see Blue Velvet? Well, this is a Criterion disc. You can also rent or buy it. My number 5 pick is Naked Lunch from 1991. As with David Lynch, I could recommend almost anything directed by David Cronenberg for this topic of this video. This is based on the novel by William Burroughs, himself infamous for experimenting with various drugs. And it's about an exterminator who becomes involved in a secret government plot being orchestrated by giant bugs. It's probably the most bizarre and inaccessible film that I'm mentioning in this episode. It has some weird imagery, some very weird creatures, some body horror. It can be a bit gross for some people. It's hallucinatory, and it may take several viewings to really grasp what's going on in this film. So where can you see Naked Lunch? Well, this is an Arrow edition. I'm embarrassed to say I have never watched this particular edition, but I have watched my Criterion version of it, which is a DVD, several times. You can rent or buy Naked Lunch. And for my number 6 pick for movies to watch while you're high or buzzed, well, I wanted to get a comedy in there somewhere, so I went with Cabin Boy from 1994. I could have gone with a stoner comedy. There's plenty of those. But I wanted something a little less obvious. Chris Elliott from Late Night with David Letterman fame stars as a snobby finishing school graduate who mistakenly winds up on the wrong boat that's manned by some very macho and kind of filthy fishermen. This was slammed when it was first released, but I think some people would say it's become a cult classic since then. Chris Elliott is hilarious in this. It's a combination of sort of like a sea adventure film and a fantasy/monster film with some stop motion effects. Think of Ray Harryhausen type effects. There are some cameos along the way, but I'm not going to spoil those here. It's very silly. It's pretty dumb, but it just gets to be so funny and ridiculous. You can't help but just admire it for that. Where can you see Cabin Boy? This is a Kino disc. You can rent or you can buy. So there you have it. Those are 6 films that you can watch when you are high or buzzed or inebriated. Not that I would do any of that, of course. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below here. Maybe there's some recommendations you have when you are in this euphoric state. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. We're still trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. And just a reminder, I'm not asking for any money. No Cameo, no subscriptions. None of this is provided to me. Just I might monetize this later on. We'll see. If you do see an old video of mine with an ad on it, a commercial, I have nothing to do with that, and I get no money from that at all. YouTube does that. So check that out. Check out Letterboxd or the Letterboxd app under the Kazdoy Closet. That's free. What's not free, and the only thing I'm selling, is I do have an ebook called True Tales from the Teacher Trenches, and that's for your Kindle or using your Kindle app. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free, part of that subscription service you have. Otherwise, Amazon.com, it'll cost you $1.99. So check that out too. Otherwise, hope you like this episode. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.